The Reckoning Point. The Vesperi Dominion had conquered 12 species across 2 spiral arms of the Milky Way. Their method never varied: arrive with overwhelming force, issue surrender demands, and systematically obliterate any resistance. Their biomechanical warships, massive hive-like structures of living metal that pulsed with eerie bioluminescence, had become symbols of inevitable defeat throughout known space. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of Proxima Station, watching distant stars with the heavy knowledge that one of them might soon bring destruction. At 42, she had spent the last 15 years helping build Earth's defenses against threats exactly like the Vesperi. The intelligence reports had been clear. Proxima Centauri, humanity's first extrasolar colony, was next on their conquest list. Commander, the quantum relay is picking up multiple FTL signatures at the system's edge, Lieutenant Quan reported, his voice steady despite the implications. Mass and energy readings match Vesperi patterns. 53 vessels in total. Elena turned from the viewport, her expression betraying nothing of the cold dread settling in her stomach. Time to intercept. Approximately 4 hours at their standard approach velocity. She nodded once. Alert Governor Chen. Begin civilian evacuation protocols for all surface settlements, and contact Earth Command. Tell them it's happening. As the command center erupted into controlled urgency, Elena made her way to the secure communications hub. She placed her palm on the biometric scanner and waited for the encrypted channel to establish. Reyes secure, she said once the connection was active. Authorization Sierra 9 Delta 4. Admiral Takahashi's face appeared on the screen, the lines around his eyes deeper than she remembered from their last communication. It's confirmed then? He asked without preamble. Yes, sir. 53 vessels. Standard Vesperi approach pattern. We've begun evacuation, but with 80,000 colonists. She left the grim math unspoken. Takahashi nodded. The Security Council has authorized Operation Longshot. Elena's breath caught. Sir, the Aurora is still in testing phase. We haven't fully. It's our only option, Commander. The nearest battle group is 4 days out. The Aurora will deploy immediately with you aboard as mission commander. The Aurora, Earth's most closely guarded secret, a prototype vessel unlike anything humanity had built before. Not the largest or most heavily armed ship in the fleet, but potentially the most revolutionary. What about Captain Nadeau? Elena asked. Still commanding the vessel. You'll serve as mission specialist. You know the Vesperi better than anyone in the service. Takahashi paused. The Aurora will arrive within the hour through the Quantum Gateway. Good luck, Commander. The fate of Proxima, and perhaps all of humanity, depends on what happens in the next 24 hours. The transmission ended, leaving Elena staring at the blank screen, mind racing through probabilities and scenarios, none of them promising. The EDF Aurora materialized near Proxima Station, with barely a ripple in space-time, a testament to the precision of its quantum displacement drive. Unlike conventional human vessels with their utilitarian designs, the Aurora had an almost artistic quality. Its obsidian hull curved in ways that seemed to defy structural engineering, absorbing rather than reflecting light. Captain Xavier Nadeau met Elena at the airlock, his tall frame and calm demeanor a reassuring presence amid the crisis. Commander Reyes, welcome aboard, he said, extending his hand. I wish it were under better circumstances. As do I, Captain. She shook his hand firmly. I understand we're operating on an accelerated timeline. Xavier nodded, leading her through corridors that hummed with energy from systems that had been theoretical just 5 years ago. My crew is the best in the fleet, but they're still adapting to the Aurora's unique characteristics. And how is she performing? Elena asked as they entered the bridge, a spacious command center dominated by holographic displays rather than traditional view screens. Like nothing I've ever piloted, Xavier admitted. Sometimes I swear she knows what I want before I do. Elena wasn't surprised. The Aurora's neural interface system was designed to create a symbiotic relationship between ship and crew, one of many technologies reverse-engineered from artifacts discovered on Mars decades earlier. "Captain," the tactical officer called out, "Vesperi fleet has accelerated. New intercept time, 93 minutes. Xavier turned to Elena. "What's your assessment, Commander?" "They've detected the Aurora's arrival," she replied, studying the tactical display. "But they're still following standard invasion protocols. They don't see us as a significant threat, just one ship against their Armada." "Then we have surprise on our side," Xavier said, taking his command seat. "Let's use it. Lieutenant Okafor, bring the phase shields to full capacity. Lieutenant Russo, ready the quantum disruptors but keep them powered down until my command. Commander Reyes, I'd appreciate your insights at the tactical station." Elena took her position, accessing the latest intelligence on Vesperi ship configurations. "Captain, we need to understand that while the Aurora's technology is advanced, we're still facing overwhelming numbers. The Vesperi will expect us to either retreat or attempt a suicidal frontal assault." "So we do neither," Xavier said with a grim smile. "Executive Officer Chen, plot a micro-jump to these coordinates." He sent data to the navigation console with a gesture. "We'll position ourselves behind Proxima Ivy's moon. The iron content should mask our signature temporarily." "Aye, Captain," Chen responded. "Jump calculations complete." The Aurora slipped through space with barely a tremor, reappearing in the shadow of the gas giant's largest moon. "Now we wait," Xavier said, "and prepare." Exactly 87 minutes later, the Vesperi fleet arrived in high orbit over Proxima Centauri, their massive ships forming a perfect hemispheric pattern that would allow them to bombard the entire habitable surface simultaneously if necessary. On the bridge of the flagship Dominant Will, Supreme Commander Vexric watched the human colony through compound eyes that had witnessed dozens of such conquests. "Open a channel to their leadership," he ordered, his voice a harmonious blend of clicks and subharmonic tones. "Standard surrender protocol." His communications officer, a younger Vesperi whose carapace still held the blue sheen of adolescence, complied immediately. "Channel open, Supreme Commander." The main view screen shifted to show a human female with silver-streaked dark hair and the insignia of colonial governance. "I am Governor Lion Chen of Proxima Colony," she said without preamble. "You are violating recognized human territory." Vexric's mouthparts formed what passed for a smile in his species. "I am Supreme Commander Vexric of the Dominant Will, representing the Vesperi Dominion. Your species has been deemed incompatible with galactic harmony. You have 6 standard hours to surrender this colony and transmit the coordinates of all human settlements. Resistance will result in planetary sterilization." Governor Chen's expression remained impassive. "We understand your demands, Commander. We will respond within your deadline." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Vexric momentarily surprised. Most species begged, threatened, or immediately capitulated. "Curious," he said. "Maintain battle readiness and monitor all orbital traffic. They may attempt evacuation." "Yes, Supreme Commander," his second acknowledged. "Shall we prepare boarding parties?" "Not yet. The humans have technological capabilities we have yet to fully assess." Vexric's antennae twitched slightly. "We will follow protocol." "Supreme Commander," the sensor officer called suddenly, "I'm detecting an anomalous reading near the 4th planet's moon." "Specify," Vexric demanded. "It appears to be a single vessel. Small, unusual configuration not matching known human military designs." Vexric's compound eyes narrowed. "A single ship. Magnify." The view screen shifted to show a distant black silhouette against the moon's gray surface. Too small to be a threat, but unusual enough to warrant caution. "Dispatch 3 scout vessels to investigate," Vexric ordered. "If it attempts to flee or shows hostility, destroy it." On the Aurora's bridge, tension mounted as the tactical display showed 3 Vesperi vessels breaking formation. "They've spotted us," Elena confirmed. Deploying scout ships to investigate. Xavier leaned forward in his command chair. Time to reveal our first surprise. Lieutenant Rousseau, activate the metamaterial hull configuration. Lieutenant Okafor, prepare for targeted phase shield projection. The Aurora's hull began to shift at the molecular level, its surface becoming more than just a physical barrier. It was now a programmable interface with space itself. Vesperi scouts on intercept course, the tactical officer reported. 2 minutes to weapons range. Xavier glanced at Elena. Commander, in your expert opinion, what's the Vesperi response if we eliminate their scouts? They'll immediately dispatch a larger force, probably 5 battlecruisers, she replied without hesitation. Standard escalation protocol. Perfect. Xavier smiled grimly. Because that's exactly what we want. Checkmate among stars. The 3 Vesperi scout ships approached the Aurora with predatory grace, their organic hulls pulsing with intensifying bioluminescence, a sign of their weapons systems charging. They're scanning us, Lieutenant Rousseau reported from Tactical. Attempting to penetrate our hull with focused tachyon beams. Captain Meadows' expression remained calm. Let them look. They won't understand what they're seeing. He turned to Elena. Commander, what's their standard first contact protocol when encountering unknown technology? They'll attempt non-destructive analysis first, she replied, eyes on the tactical display. Then escalate to controlled weapons fire to test defenses. If they can't quickly categorize a threat, they'll retreat and report back to the main fleet. Xavier nodded. Then let's make sure they never get the chance to report back. Lieutenant Okafor, on my mark, extend phase shields to encompass the lead scout. Lieutenant Rousseau, prepare quantum disruptors at 20% power. The Vesperi scouts formed a triangular formation as they closed to within 5 kilometers of the Aurora, their weapons ports visible now as glowing orifices along their hulls. Incoming communication, the communications officer announced. Ignore it, Xavier ordered. Execute maneuver Theta 3. The Aurora suddenly accelerated, not away from the scouts as they might have expected, but directly toward them. Before the Vesperi could react, the human ship had slipped between 2 of the scouts, its hull rippling with subtle distortions. Mark, Xavier commanded. Invisible to the naked eye, the Aurora's phase shields extended outward, enveloping the nearest scout ship in a bubble of altered space-time. Within that bubble, fundamental forces behaved differently. The quantum bonds holding the scouts' biomechanical systems together began to weaken. The Vesperi vessel convulsed as if in pain, its organic components struggling against sudden molecular instability. Before it could escape, Lieutenant Rousseau activated the quantum disruptors, not traditional weapons that delivered kinetic force, but devices that selectively altered probability states within their target area. The scout ship simply unraveled, not with a dramatic explosion, but with a quiet dissolution as its component atoms lost coherence with one another. First target neutralized, Rousseau reported, her voice steady despite the unprecedented nature of what they'd just accomplished. The remaining scouts immediately opened fire, their energy weapons lashing out at the Aurora. But the shots never landed. They passed through what appeared to be the human ship, only to strike empty space. Holographic projection functioning perfectly. Okafor confirmed. The Aurora is now 50 meters starboard of our projected image. Xavier didn't waste the advantage. Target remaining scouts with disruptors. Full spectrum deployment. The quantum disruptors fired again, this time simultaneously at both remaining scouts. One suffered the same fate as the first, dissolving into subatomic particles. The third managed to partially evade, losing approximately 30% of its mass to molecular disruption. The damaged scout is attempting to escape, Elena noted. It's broadcasting to the main fleet. Let it, Xavier said, surprising the bridge crew. Lieutenant Chen, plot an intercept course that keeps us in its sensor shadow. We'll follow it back to the fleet. On the bridge of the dominant will, Supreme Commander Vexric received the fragmentary transmission from the surviving scout with growing alarm. Unknown weapon, molecular disruption, cannot maintain structural integrity. Before the message completed, the tactical display showed the scout's energy signature fading completely. 3 scouts dispatched, 3 scouts destroyed, Vexric stated, his voice containing the subtle harmonic inflections of concern. By a single human vessel. His second-in-command's antennae twitched nervously. Perhaps it was a chance encounter with an experimental weapon. Supreme Commander. The humans could not have anticipated our arrival. No, Vexric replied, compound eyes narrowing. This was deliberate. Recall all ships to defensive formation impenetrable sphere. Launch all fighter drones. I want that human vessel found and destroyed. The Vesperi fleet shifted, the 50 remaining ships drawing closer together in a spherical formation that would allow overlapping defensive fields and maximized weapons coverage in all directions. Supreme Commander, the sensor officer called out, I'm detecting a small gravitational anomaly within our formation. Central Quadrant, Sector 7. Impossible, Vexric responded. Nothing could penetrate our formation without triggering proximity alerts. Yet even as he spoke, the tactical display flickered, showing a momentary contact at the exact coordinates the sensor officer had indicated, at the very heart of the Vesperi fleet. The Aurora hung suspended among its enemies, its revolutionary quantum displacement drive allowing it to exist partially in normal space and partially in a parallel dimensional state. To Vesperi sensors, it appeared as nothing more than a gravitational ghost. There, yet not there. All ships in the fleet are going to combat alert, Elena reported, studying the tactical feed. They know something's wrong, but they can't precisely locate us. Xavier nodded, his expression focused. Now for Phase 2. Lieutenant Rousseau, deploy quantum interference probes. Target their communication relays first. From the Aurora's ventral ports, a dozen tiny devices no larger than human fists detached and accelerated toward different Vesperi vessels. Each contained a miniaturized version of the quantum disruptors, programmed to target specific systems rather than entire ships. Probes away, Rousseau confirmed. 15 seconds to contact. Elena leaned closer to Xavier. Captain, even with our technological advantage, we can't possibly defeat 50 warships. We don't need to defeat them all, Xavier replied quietly. We just need to demonstrate that we could. The Vesperi respect strength above all else. If we can neutralize their flagship and perhaps a few support vessels while remaining essentially untouchable. He let the implication hang. The first quantum probes reached their targets, attaching to the communication arrays of 6 Vesperi ships. Instead of destroying them outright, the probes began subtle manipulations of quantum states within the biomechanical systems. Interesting, Elena said, watching the data feeds. The communication systems aren't failing. They're operating perfectly, but transmitting randomized data. Xavier smiled. The Vesperi rely on absolute control and perfect information. Let's see how they handle uncertainty. Aboard the Dominant Will, chaos was spreading. Communication between ships had become garbled or entirely nonsensical. Sensor readings showed phantom contacts appearing and disappearing throughout the formation. What is happening? Vexric demanded, his harmonious voice now discordant with stress. Unknown, Supreme Commander, his communications officer replied. We're receiving contradictory reports from all vessels. Some claim to be under attack, others report no contact at all. This is impossible, Vexric hissed. No species we have encountered possesses technology capable of this level of disruption. That was when the Dominant Will shuddered, as if struck by an invisible force. The lights flickered, and the organic components of the ship, the living metal that gave Vesperi vessels their adaptability, began pulsing erratically. Supreme Commander, the engineering officer called out, voice rising in pitch. Something is interfering with our ship's neural network. The biological components are rejecting mechanical integration. Vexric's compound eyes widened as he realized the horrifying truth. The humans weren't attacking their ships. They were attacking the fundamental connection between the organic and mechanical components that made Vesperi technology superior. All ships, he broadcast on emergency frequencies, purge neural networks and revert to mechanical backup systems. But the order came too late for many vessels. Throughout the fleet, ships began to drift out of formation as their control systems failed. Some fired weapons randomly, damaging nearby allies. Others shut down completely, life support systems failing as the organic components went dormant. On the Aurora's bridge, Alina watched the tactical display with a mixture of awe and horror as the mighty Vesperi fleet descended into disarray. The quantum interference is cascading through their neural networks faster than they can isolate it, she reported. 17 ships have already lost primary power. Another 12 show significant systems degradation. Xavier nodded grimly. Now for the final move. Lieutenant Chen, bring us to these coordinates, directly in front of the Vesperi flagship. Full visibility, no displacement field. The Aurora shifted fully back into normal space, suddenly appearing less than a kilometer from the dominant Will's command section. At such close range, the Vesperi could see their tormentor clearly for the first time. A single human vessel, not even particularly large by their standards, that had single-handedly crippled the most powerful fleet in known space. Open a channel, Xavier ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the dominant Will. Supreme Commander Vexrix stood at its center, his posture rigid with what Alina recognized as barely controlled rage. This is Captain Xavier Nadeau of the Earth Defense Force vessel Aurora, Xavier began, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable authority. Your fleet is compromised. 29 of your ships are currently incapacitated. The rest will follow within approximately 12 minutes as our quantum interference continues to spread through your neural networks. Vexrix's mouthparts clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. What do you want, human? A colossal human warship dominates the sky, its dark metallic hull reflecting the fires raging below. Swarms of smaller fighter craft and helicopters flank the massive vessel as it hovers over a devastated alien city. The skyline is marked by towering structures, some collapsing, others engulfed in flames. Smoke billows into the sky, mixing with the darkened clouds, while bright orange streaks of energy fire rain down from the human fleet above. The atmosphere is tense. This is not a battle. It's a reckoning. The alien civilization that once sought to erase humanity now faces extinction at the hands of an unstoppable force. The vengeful might of Earth's fleet casts an ominous shadow over the ruins, signaling the dawn of a final war.